hype. The world runs on it, and the bike I'm riding today has had all of it ever since it was even imagined. Today I'm riding the KTM 390 Adventure. It promises a punch, so let's find out what it's all about. The KTM 390 Adventure has been pretty highly anticipated, bringing in the goodness of the mighty 399cc single-cylinder engine found in the new Gen 3 Duke into a touring off-roader adventure-style motorcycle. Of course, anyone would be hyped about it, considering how meaty of an engine the LC4C is, of course. But how is the performance now that you can go off-road? Well, I'm happy to report it is a huge improvement over the previous model. The new gen trellis frame paired with off-road ready WP shocks and a 21-inch front tire make this rock solid while exploring new ground. The front is capable of 200 mm of wheel travel and the rear can travel 205 mm. Ground clearance has also improved to a respectable 237 mm, making it a proper rough road crawler. It has its limitations though. Don't get me wrong, this is a very capable motorcycle off the road, but it's not the kind of motorcycle you want to conquer a mountain at high speed with. For that, you're going to have to wait for the full-fat Adventure R to be launched. This KTM Adventure or KTM Adventure S promises to bring that perfect balance between an urban mile muncher and an off-road machine. So if you're actually looking forward to buy this and just attack trails, I would tell you to wait because there's better things in store for you from KTM. Are you driving something like this when you could be driving something like this? Same boring cars, nowhere to find the good stuff. Wait, these are for sale? Your dream car is just a click away. TDH Classifieds. Time to get yourself the car of your dreams. Whew, that was intense. And yes, the good news is that if all you care about is outright performance, then the new generation 390 Adventure is so much better than the previous generation in terms of outright performance. So much more tractable, so much more powerful and so much more capable. But when it comes to living with it, things get a little bit more complex. Let's head back to the city and talk a little bit more about the bike, shall we? In the city, that's where the 390 Adventure really starts becoming a commitment. It is tall, it runs hot, and the easy to remove side panels that would be useful off-road rattle a lot in low RPMs and the foot pegs vibrate to a point where your toes lose feeling. That being said, on the move it still feels light and the ergonomics are pretty commanding, making it still quite confident at zipping through traffic. You get 3 maps: rain, road and off-road. The road mode is okay for the daily, but it's still super docile and doesn't deliver the full shebang that the LC4C is capable of. For that, the off-road mode is the go-to, which turns off traction control, making the throttle much more responsive. Furthermore, for some reason, you can't use cruise control in off-road mode, which I found interesting to say the least. Oh, and that tall windscreen does a bit too good of a job at deflecting wind at low speeds, making it a hot place to be in, and the new position of the radiator means that you're going to be having some really hot shins too. Now that was one frustrating ride, but we have reached our destination and time to eat some food. But before that, let's talk about the design. I really like the way the new 390 Adventure looks. It looks straight out of the Dakar Rally with all of these purposeful fairings and that super aggressive mudguard in the front. It all looks really sporty and really purposeful. But there are a couple of bad points, and that is mainly the plastic. You see, there is quite a lot of flex in the plastic, and there is quite a lot of panel gaps too, something that I was facing in my personal Gen 3 Duke 392, and the problem stays in the 390 Adventure. In fact, this bit of plastic over here that's covering the airbox is actually really rattly, and you can really feel it when it vibrates while you're riding, especially in third and fourth gear. The other problem is the foot pegs. The foot pegs have a lot of rubber in order to hide that vibration, but it still is very prevalent, and prevalent to the point where your toes get numb. So yes, there are a couple of things about the 390 Adventure that could be annoying in terms of design, but yeah, we'll continue talking about the bike after some lunch. I should really stop overeating every time I'm out on a ride. But anyway, good time to talk about the ergonomics of the 390 Adventure. In fact, I'm pretty happy with the ergonomics of the 390 Adventure since it puts you in a very comfortable place. Now, the seat height has gotten lower and the ground clearance has gotten higher. That means you have much less room to play with in the bottom half. So your legs are a little bit more cramped compared to the previous generation, but it's not a bad place to be in. The seat has quite a lot of room to play in, so you have a lot of leverage to move back and forth, but it is quite hard to sit on. So if you're going to be touring in it, something softer will be much more helpful. The top half is, in my opinion, quite perfect. You sit quite upright and you have a lot of leverage to move around. But one small issue that I definitely see is that when you're standing up, these handlebars, if you are a little too tall, then you're going to need a handlebar riser because they sit too low, and gripping onto the tank side or while standing up gripping, it's just a little too awkward in my opinion. Plus, you leave these dirty stains which are going to be pretty bad once you start living with it. At 3.68 lakhs ex-showroom, the new 390 Adventure is only slightly more expensive than the outgoing model, but the upgrades make it worth every penny. It's no longer just a Duke on stilts, it's a proper off-road adventure machine. And if you ask me what it's like against the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, that's a battle that could go toe-to-toe for a very long time. One thing is for sure though, this time KTM has built an adventure bike that truly lives up to its name. And if you don't plan to go off-road much, there's always the 390 Adventure X, which retains the new engine, better suspension and fresh styling. After having spent the whole day with the 390 Adventure, I've come up with a rather skewed final verdict. Bear with me. The 390 Adventure is a very capable motorcycle, don't get me wrong. In fact, I think that this new 390 Adventure is the most capable off-roader in the entire 300-400cc segment. But it takes that job a bit too seriously. It runs a little rough, it's got dimensions that you just cannot ignore, and that makes it a little bit difficult to live with in the city, especially on a daily basis. But if what you want is something smoother, something more practical, and something more dailyable, why not look at its road-going version, the Duke 390 that's always been there. In fact, if you actually want to tour with it, putting handlebar risers on this and going on the road makes more sense than taking a complete off-roader and then just making it into a tourer, in my opinion. So what do you guys think? What would you pick? The Duke 390 or the 390 Adventure for a tour? Do let me know in the comments down below.